Guys, welcome back to the Aussie Guna channel. It's a fucking yarn. And it's a yarn that had to be had. We had to do it. But I didn't want to do it any which way possible. And there was been a whole bunch of topics and things that I wanted to discuss. But because of what's happened recently, is another topic we have to discuss. But I can't do it on my own. There's no way. I needed the voice of reason. I needed people from the left. I needed people from the right. I needed people straight in front of me. And now we're here. I'm here chit-chatting with a whole bunch of boys. I've got Prince Fuad in the building. Big up, Prince. Hope you're doing well.
What up, people? What up, people?
I've got the man Manny over there, ready to talk some sense. No nonsense. That's the man I know. I've got Nigerian Englishman who wouldn't even think about jumping on another yarn if it wasn't live because he just is a fucking prick, right? And that's just who he is, yeah. And apparently he can only be here. Apparently he's only going to be here for 5 minutes. So, la-di-da,
Never.
And last but never least, I've got Kenny Ken in the building right now, joining us to chit-chat a little bit about what's going on with Arsenal. Look, elephant in the room, guys. I want to discuss the game that has come and gone, that's Everton, because there's been so much uproar in the YouTube world. And the uproar I've seen so far is from Arsenal content creators more than anything else. But look, let's go elephant in the room. Everton v Arsenal, 1-0 to Everton. Guys, give me your vibes on this game. Like, were you guys enthused about going into this game? Was it going to be 2-0, or was it going to be a fucking a tough day in the office? To be perfectly honest, I thought we were going to win this. But what were your gist from this game in the first 15 minutes? I'm going to go to Niger. 15 minutes into this game, Niger, because you've only got 10 minutes to talk. 15 minutes into this game, what did you fucking see? Were you fucking thinking we were going to win this game, or were you thinking we're...
Do you know what? As soon as I saw their lineup, I was a bit nervous because 3 bullies in the middle of the park, they don't give a damn clearly about creativity. They're just going to lump it forward and bully us in the middle of the park. I was a little bit worried about that. And in the first 15 minutes, kind of showed me why I was worried about that, because we were getting bullied off the park. And the biggest issue was, as soon as Odegaard had the ball, 3 players were on it. And then as a team, we weren't ready to expose the spaces that gave in other areas of the pitch. We were too reliant on, we need to find Odegaard. Or we ended up asking Partey to do what Odegaard usually does, like trying to dictate the play. And that was what was getting me more nervous. The more I kept seeing Partey on the ball, the more nervous I started to get. I said, oh my gosh, I'm noticing him every 2 minutes now. And that's never a good sign for a DM. So I was nervous. I could see that my confidence going into this game has been butchered for 15 minutes. I went as far as said, if we win this game, we're winning the league. That's how far I went. That's how I took it. And the reason why I said it is because the mentality we would show winning a game like this, after a kind of some of the unnecessary backlash from the fan base after the close of the transfer window, that was there. Losing to City, people saying Arteta maybe missed the beat there, not taking advantage of how City's form was, and blah, blah, blah. And Jorginho coming to the club, all these different things. It would have been a nice going away from home at Goodison when we typically have a very bad record. Going there, getting a comfortable win, for me, that would have given me that chest that Fuad's had all season when he's talking about we're winning this league. That would have, because I would have said these guys' mentality is switched on. I'm not even worried about the City game now. Now I'm worried about the City game. I don't think there's a reason to be like tits up and go crazy like half of the fan base have right now. But I'm more worried about this City game now than I was before the Everton game. That's what I'll say.
Look, to be honest, my gist of the first 15 minutes, and guys, jump in. You know what I noticed, and one thing I didn't like about the first 15 minutes of this game was that we came out of the park slow. Arsenal this season have always come out of the park first 2 minutes. It's always a shot, a chance created, another shot. We started this game off lethargic. We started like it was like we were barely in first gear. And that's what worried me in the first 15. I go, why aren't we going at these guys quick? Because slow build-up play is going to allow the defensive line to stay straight. And of course, when you've got a midfield that's a brick wall, literally 5 in the midfield, you need to be a little bit quicker, even if it means
Mm.
balls over the top. But we weren't doing this, and that's what worried me. I don't know, like Manny, what were your thoughts?
Here's the thing with me, Steve-O, and first of all, let me just say thank you so much for having me on. It has
That's
been
an
a
absolute
long
pleasure.
time. What an honor, what a privilege. Thank you very much indeed. Great to be in company with Prince Fuad, One Touch Englishman, and of course the legend himself, Kenny Ken. Hope you're doing well, sir.
All good, all good, all good.
Ken, I need that. I need that robe, bro. I need that.
Always.
Hey, I'll
I
tell you
love
one
that
thing,
robe.
it's bloody brilliant. It's not, it's good, isn't it? It doesn't matter whether it's autumn, summer, winter, or spring, you've got to wear it, you know what I mean? It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's
Love
awesome
it,
that
love
robe.
it.
I'm in love
Oh,
with that
yeah.
fucking robe.
Of course, you've got to wear your club loyalty. It's as simple as that. Here's the thing: everything you've said about how the midfield seemed to be a bit packed, and we weren't able to take advantage of that. I thought that was spot on. And of course, obviously, when you take a look at the back four, you do have some experience over there in the likes of Seamus Coleman and of course Connor Cody.
Yeah.
Tarkowski himself played the better part of his career under Dyche, as did Dwight McNeil. So I actually have to sort of criticize myself because I was quite confident that we would win. And the reason being that a team like Everton, I just didn't think that they would have the stomach to continue to go toe-to-toe with us for the whole 90 minutes. And most of our wins against lower order opposition or otherwise would be, if you notice carefully, we go toe-to-toe with them, they go toe-to-toe with us, and then when they start to tire, we sort of land a knockout blow. It's a little bit like, as boxing enthusiasts, you and Kenny Ken will know quite well that the secret to handling a powerful opponent is to make sure that you go toe to toe, punch to punch with them, and just when you see them drop their defense, you put in the haymaker. A little bit like a rope a dope, if you will, or whatever, but that's sort of the way we would normally play. But you are quite spot on. There was a little bit of lethargy, but we just didn't seem to know how to dismantle that system. And of course, Dyche has previous of doing well with us. His record against Arteta is an even 50%. Played 5, won 1, lost 1, drawn 3. So he knew how to make us frustrated. He knew how to get results against us, and he's just done that again. History has repeated itself in so many ways. What surprised me as well was, as you mentioned, because they packed their midfield and had the likes of Gunnar Gay and Onana, and even the ex-Gunner Alex Iwobi sort of running the show. We ended up, being beaten at our own game, and that was one thing which was really impressive about the way Everton played. And a lot of people have been talking about a blueprint to beat us in future matches. I think Newcastle showed, at least partly, how we could be stopped, albeit, we dominated that game. But in this game, it was amazing how we allowed them to, dominate us. And what was really impressive was how intelligent the likes of Onana and Ghana Gaye were. They were willing to continue to run and run and run. And there was one incident, if you remember correctly, in the first half. Calvert-Lewin actually got that brilliant chance from some pretty poor interplay between Ben White and Odegaard, when both of them were pretty much, hesitant or tentative on the ball. Onana just came in and snatched it from Odegaard, ran down the left, threaded that beautiful pass in, and I'm sure Calvert-Lewin would be thinking if he had just, timed it just a millisecond better, he would have scored. And I'm sure Kenny will agree with me that when he saw that chance, it was Gaza and Euro 96 all over again in the semi-final. What might have been? And that was one example of how they were able to simply just carve up our midfield. And our the defenders weren't really having a bad game, except for maybe White and maybe to some extent Zinchenko. I thought Gabriel and Saliba were quite solid. But because the midfield was, nullified and allowed to be carved up almost too easily, our defenders were put under too much pressure, and we just couldn't hack that. There was still a part of me that was hopeful that, we could weather the storm and then wait until maybe the last 10 minutes before we brought on a few substitutes and maybe turned on the afterburners. But, the way Nketiah and Odegaard were missing their shots, it was becoming all the more hurtful, painful for me to watch. And with every minute ticking away, hope was ebbing away. So, it was really down to that midfield battle. And I think, Dyche came in with a plan. It was well executed. And we've got to hold ourselves up and say, for all of the ability of our first team, we just don't seem to have the tactical nows as a management. I'm speaking with from a manager's point of view. Arteta doesn't really have that tactical nous to have that sort of a plan B. And what was angering me, personally for me was how he said he knew that Everton would play that way under Dyche. Why didn't he prepare for that? And that is something that will really stick in my throat for a long time to come unless we see an improvement.
Hey, do you know what? You see, the thing that annoyed me the most was the Martinelli thing. Like, I don't know about you lot, right? But very early on in that game, we could see Martinelli wasn't going to have his day on that side.
Exactly.
But yeah, he persists. Like, I don't know how he managed to stay on the pitch for the second half. I don't know how, especially on that wing. I wouldn't have minded maybe if he tried putting Martinelli through the middle and taking off Nketiah, because he wasn't in the game at all yesterday either, which is not necessarily his fault. But Martinelli on that left going into that second 45 minutes was an absolute no-no. I think Trossard from the start might have made that subtle little bit of difference, giving him that extra bit of time to play himself into the game, because we needed someone more intricate. Because you see when Martinelli plays without Jesus, he doesn't have the space that he usually has, because Jesus creates the extra space for him to run into, where he has a bit more time to run onto the ball and beat people with his pace. And that wasn't the game for him, unfortunately.
And it hasn't been a game for Martinelli. I mean, it's been a few games like this, Martinelli. Not having Jesus there and not having that link-up play, he struggles. Martinelli's kind of been out of the game for a while. I don't know, Kenny Ken, your thoughts on this Everton game? I know you were chit-chatting over Instagram discussing it, and we were in a group chat. I know you guys heard what I've got to say. Did you think, like, for me, I looked at that goal, right? And it was the fifth time or the fourth time they had got a corner and they went to the far post. Okay. Now they've gone to the far post, and this is a point that Football Capital made a while back, and I was like, you know what, you got a point. The zonal marking, when it comes to a corner, why the hell aren't we putting players on each end of the post? And why have I got Tarkowski being defended by Odegaard and not tall timber for tall timber? Did you notice that, Kenny Ken? I mean, your thoughts?
Well, definitely, yeah. I think Everton's corners are fantastic. They're proper corners, because I think what's happened is that before, when you get a corner, the first thing you're told to do defending, always make sure you get that first ball, because the last thing you want is someone to either get on the sort of the near post and head it towards goal, or do a flick on, because flick on, I don't care what anything is, they're the most difficult things to defend. So what Iwobi and McNeil did, they hit it deep. They basically curved the ball away from the keeper, where he's got no chance. If he comes for it, he's no man's land. So basically, you're relying on them, on your players to actually actually be on that sort of far post. And I think what it was is that they always tend to have the smaller players on the far post. We do have players on each post, but for some reason, they don't like big players on each post, because if you have big players on each post, what will happen is that you actually want them to actually win the header. That's where you have your biggest
man marking,
so,
I mean, though. I mean, man mark.
So
big boy.
In terms of where Odegaard was, remember, he wasn't actually in the worst position, but what it was that the runners, it was just the runners, who were supposed to mark the zone. They've got to read that and try and get into that zone. So Odegaard has to do that. He's in the position he should be, in case there is a shot and he clears the line. Look what happened, with even in play when Connor Cody reads the situation. Odegaard's in the right position. It's just that your Jackers and Partey's, they're not reacting quickly enough, even though they've had many warnings. And I've seen that corner routine go deep. It wasn't one of those ones where they try to surprise the keeper. Where's the keeper's ball? They kept it away from Ramsdale. Ramsdale had no chance. Remember, they dictated what happens at Man United. They saw the Man United's second goal, where you get the ball away from Ramsdale, where he's got to stretch for it. He's now in second thoughts about coming. That's where the goal was called, because of the delivery. But the other thing as well was that Everton got their tactics spot on. Everyone was laughing on BT Sport when they're talking about the bleep tests. He said he wanted to check their fitness, but it wasn't about checking their fitness. To see how they are. He looked at who was the fittest players. He said, right, Arsenal are going to run us ragged, and Arsenal are very good at winning games in the 90th minute and 96th or 97th minute, and they're still as fresh as they are in the first minute. So basically, he picked runners. And then once you get your runners, he picked his tacklers, but people would tackle this mean. But what he wanted is that he wanted his runners not to just stop every play. It's just stretch the game. When they could, Nana, when he got the ball, stretch the game. They tried to stretch the game. Iwobi stretched the game. And Decore made sure that they would start talking about Nana getting close to Calvert-Lewin. Actually, they all took turns of getting close to Calvert-Lewin. It wasn't just Nana. And that's where he got his tactics spot on. And, let's face it, we'd be playing right now and we still wouldn't have scored. That's how disciplined Everton were. You think about their players. I think the lowest mark you give one of their players is 7.5. They play that well.
Everyone. Brother, when did you last see Seamus Coleman look that good at a right back?
Exactly. He's looking like he's ready. Isn't he ready for retirement? Apparently.
Yeah, but that's what we're getting to. I think you talk about elephants in the room. One thing you can't take from them, there's 3 elephants in the room which people who are Arsenal fans don't want to confront because the team's been playing well. There's 3 others. There's 2 areas where we have to consider making changes because it's not just one game. It's 3 or 4 now since the turn of the calendar year where these 2 players haven't been performing. Where, thank God, we have made a signing in January where we can look at that situation. You've mentioned one of them, and you actually probably picked out a small bone out of the other player. But the fact is, they're not playing well. That we have to consider that because you can't carry players anymore on reputation. We haven't won the league yet. 100%. You don't win leagues in January. Another one is very controversial. It's going to hurt Fuad, but it's not personal against the guy. But one of the things that Torch touched on and my touched on and my guy Manny touched on was the situation about breaking teams down, about Martinelli's performances, whether we like it or not. Teams are going to play like that against us. There is a blueprint, and 2 teams have proved successful at doing it. Even last week at Main Road, Etihad, Man City kind of play that way as well. Sure. They weren't going to play expansive football. They played about staying with us physically. If you noticed that after they got their goal in the FA Cup, Man City played the percentages. They made sure that they ran faster than us, and they kept possession and managed the game out really well to the extent that we were starved of room and cramped chances. So those are areas that Mikel's got to look at. We can't avoid this any longer. Martinelli's form is for me means he's not worth his place in the side at the moment, and that you've got to give him one more chance. And then if it carries on, you've got to think of getting Trossard in the team. The same with Ben White.
Kenny,
I think Martinelli. I think though personally, I think Martinelli after that Everton game, I think Martinelli should be dropped.
That's reasonable to say that. It's reasonable to say it, but Benjamin White is another one. I
believe. I said yesterday. I believe yesterday when I was talking to brother Manny, I said yesterday. I believe now that you can't keep running your starting 11 from now to the end of the season. You can't. It's like when people were having a meltdown yesterday when Partey come off. I understand that. It ain't nothing to do with cojones and everything. The man looked tired. The man
he was tired. He was tired. He got. In fact, you're right.
He wasn't even 100%.
The players that are taking off, we were carrying players. Physically, we were carrying Partey. He was 70% fit, and it looked at physically the way Everton with the lengthiness and like the game, the way they played. There was no way you could have Partey in the field. You have to get him off. The same over the guy. He got his ankle trodden on, and he was trying to get him in the game. There were passengers, but the problem is. As subs were a bit of a mismatch because you had that intensity that everyone were playing with, the physicality, and then we brought lightweights in the field, and that's not slagging them off because they're trying to get us back in the game. But you look at it, Jorginho, lightweight, Fabio Vieira, lightweight. They looked tiny on the pitch when they came on, tiny, and I think that's the whole situation is that. Three of our players who came on looked tiny to the extent that it was like sending cadets at the battle on the field of Vietnam against big soldiers, and I think that's what hurt us. Yes, they look good on paper, but the fact is, Mikel Arteta's got to make decisions. Again, Manny's right. Plan A and plan B. You've got to learn to. You've got 2 things to do: learn to play without Jesus, or get him back in the team as quickly as possible. Get him back.
But the thing is, though, you can't. I think, though, but the thing is, Ken, I look at it like this. The reason why you're bringing in Trossard is for him to play. If Trossard's off, like Trossard against United, I'll give you the Arsenal fan base. When Trossard coming against Man United, everyone was thing. It ain't Trossard's fault yesterday. Yesterday, the whole team were absolutely horrid and shambolic. From the moment they kicked off, you know how positive I am. From the moment they kicked off, they were absolutely terrible. Martin Odegaard yesterday, okay? First thing, it's a one-off game. I'm not going to define the season of this game. I'm just going off one game. Martin Odegaard yesterday, bam, they give it to him. They give it to every player. And the players yesterday, for some reason, don't want to know. It's like you could see Martin Odegaard was off his game. Yesterday, for instance, when Eddie Nketiah had a moment of magic, 1, 2, 3, laid the ball off to him, he should be scored in them moments. Sometimes you need a moment of magic. And it didn't happen for us yesterday. Saka was unlucky not to score, like you said. But yesterday, the whole team were absolutely horrid from the moment to the end. And I think whoever they brought on yesterday, it could have been anyone. You could have been Margaret. It could have been any player. It wasn't that day. Yesterday just wasn't that day.
There were too many players off form, and it was obvious. Everybody was lethargic. Ben White wasn't having a good game. Zinchenko wasn't effective. It was barely cutting through the midfield. Saka was getting the ball bombed to him every 5 seconds, and he was doing the work, but unfortunately kept on cutting out. It was all Saka. There's a question here for you, Kenny Ken. Loudmouth Football says, "Hi Ken, do you see Tierney leaving the club next season?" Guys, I reckon I can see it.
He's a first-team player. He's a first-team player, and he has been for first-choice player, and he's a Scottish international. You know, it was only about a couple of years ago that, you know, that we were looking at Tierney and thinking, right, this is a future captain, someone who's going to a great squad, and probably someone who's going to be one of the best left backs in the country, if not Europe. But the thing is, the team's moved away from him tactically to the extent that I can see Arteta getting a left back who can provide the similar attributes to Zinchenko, because, you know, managers like Klopp, Arteta, you know, Ten Hag, and obviously Pep, they want one of their fullbacks to play that inverted role, so they can actually have another body in midfield. Now, as far as I know, Kieran's trying to play like that. It's not Kieran's game. Now, Robertson could do that because he's capable of doing that, but Kieran, I'm not sure he's capable of that. I don't think Arteta's getting the team. So, from a tactical point of view, it's one of the biggest myths is that Kieran's been left out because of injuries. It's a myth. I think our coach.
It's not a myth. It's not an injury.
Can I chime in on the Tierney thing?
Please jump, guys.
Because I get so offended when fans talk about Tierney. Like they forget how we looked so lost without him in the side last season, and now everyone's asking for him to get there. And as much as I love Zinchenko, don't get it twisted, but those type of games are Kieran Tierney games against Everton away from home, where they're gonna try and bully you. Tierney's supposed to be starting them games, and that's one thing. I think it will come with more time with Arteta. We're actually watching in front of our eyes the evolution of a manager. Like he was making a lot of mistakes in his first year because, again, it was his big club and his first move. We actually watched his journey under our supervision, if that makes sense. So I believe he needs to let Tierney still play his own game when he plays Tierney. Don't ask him to do the extra stuff. Do you get I hear what you're saying, but let Tierney keep playing the game he's been playing since he's been at Arsenal, because that was very effective on that left-hand side, especially with Baka Martinelli.
Sorry, Touch. But the thing about it is that tactically, I think it's the way he's moving the team, the way he's moving away from it. Yeah, obviously, horse for courses, and I think that's where, Manny and yourself say there's no plan B. But the thing is, Tierney, is he going to be satisfied? His age and his reputation to be like a substitute and deputising for Zinchenko. I don't think he is, and I think from a business point of view as well, I look at it. Well, maybe the club can cash in because they want to reduce their age, but I just do think that when I look at Arteta and the way he wants to play, he's one of those people who wants to get in a position where he doesn't have to have courses. He wants to play a certain way and imposes his style of play on the opposition, and that's where I worry for Kieran big time. For instance, I can see why we got Jorginho. I really can see it, because the reason I think we get Jorginho in, because I think he's a sort of player in European games. If we're in the Champions League, God bless us, so we are. That he's the one who can change the tempo of the games, and he can take the ball. He can take the ball, then he lends it to you, you give it back to him, and he can dictate the play. So I can understand that side. I don't particularly understand it from the way we got to play, but maybe that's his plan B. But I think in terms of Kieran, it's just cruel luck, really. Cruel luck, you know, for Kieran. But at the end of the day, sometimes teams just evolve around you, and you know, you're talking about Kieran. What about Smith Rowe? I'm worried about him. He
can't even stay fit right now, to be honest, Ken.
But he could be.
I'm getting Wilshere vibes. He
gets fully fit.
Yeah,
the team will move around him, move away.
But Smith Rowe, he's right. You can't keep Smith. It's like last year, 9 of the goals come from Smith Rowe. We need to keep him fit, man. But he's just fit. But I'll be honest with you, we have got the tools. Like Mikel Arteta now is going to sit down and think of some other plan B, because. If you want Zinchenko to play in the middle sometimes, put Chiellini there. We've got the tools to win the league. We've got the tools to change it. Like I was saying to Manny yesterday, if he wants Zinchenko to have a free role in the middle sometimes, put Chiellini there. Because if you want to play the solid, then put Chiellini there. Because
agreed completely.
No, Fouad.
And tell me
why. This is perfect. Tell me why he didn't bring on Tierney. Then, because they told us the reason we're buying Zinchenko is because he can double up in midfield as well. Like, why didn't we just put him in there?
Move Zinchenko up and all would be good.
Because when you go inside, Zinchenko is a technically good player. He's not just a left back. A left back. He is do you know what Rossback? Kyle Walker said about Zinchenko? He's the most technical player in Man City with De Bruyne there.
You can see the way he switches the ball up, for God's sake. Every time he switches the ball up, it's like he's a number 10.
So now Arteta's going to sit down today against Brentford and think, how are we going to do it? Yo, you need to change the tactics. Ben White, personally,
there's a big elephant in the room now. The thing about it is you're talking about it, but what's he do with Granit? Because we've all agreed that Granit's playing his best football where, and I say it with a humility, where he could do the less damage. And I think because you put him in the middle of the park,
which is true.
He can't play a party position. He's not good enough. Because a lot of people say Partey's a DM. He's more than a DM. He could easily play that position. And when he's fully fit, and he is, and he's got these athleticism, he could play further forward. We see that. Granit is playing his best football when Zinchenko comes into the inverted role into the midfield. Granit creates a bit of space. If you look at the goal against Man United, inverted midfield, Zinchenko creates a little space, a little overlap there. Granit Xhaka has a bit of space, puts the ball in. Fuad's best mate, Eddie, has a free header, 1-0. And I think that's the thing. What do you do with Granit Xhaka if you play Tierney and Zinchenko? You leave him out, don't you?
But sometimes,
to be honest,
But Kenny, okay, for instance, you got to change it up sometimes to win the title. Sometimes, listen, you can't always listen. If you play now, you're starting 11 from now, and I'll be the first to say it. No, from up to now, up to May, your start 11 have won 18 games. You're not going to win the title. This is the reason why you got a squad. You got to come with a different formation. You got to change the tactics. You can't go out there. Like yesterday, do you know what? Big up to Capital, what he just said. Everyone's going to agree. Yeah, this is exactly what happened yesterday. Play the ball to the right. Play the ball to the right. Play the ball to the right. It was something that Everton was thinking, yo, we've got this. That's what happened yesterday. But if you have
one-dimensional.
Earlier in the season, though. So early in the season.
No, but I'm saying
it was to the left.
It was to the left, though, wasn't it? Because we had Jason and Martinelli creating space for each other.
Yeah, but Jesus is out now, so you've got to find another one.
To be on a far post to get his chances.
But it's worked up to now. You've got to change it. You've got to change it. It's worked up to now. Now something. You've got the players. Like you just brought in this Polish kid who's broke every record in training. You've got Trossard there. You've got the Chelsea boy Gervinho. You got Zinchenko. You got Kieran Tierney that's fit. You got to figure. You got to come with something thinking. All right, I need to change it a little bit because teams will figure me out. As a manager, he has to.
True.
If you put on your starting 11 every week, you know, I remember when Vieira used to have when people used to go crazy when we won the title in 2002 when he said to Vieira, "You're not playing in this game." Arsenal fans had a meltdown. Gilberto Silva done the job.
But this is it, Fuad. This is it, Fuad. I want to look at a decision that Arteta makes. I'm like, what? and then it works out. I love that.
You saw that with Tomiyasu, but you saw that with Tomiyasu.
He brings on Kiwiok, Tierney, and Jorginho at halftime. I want to be like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then we win. I want that. The last game of the season for City, when Pep brought on Zinchenko when they were losing by 2 goals, I was like, huh? What the hell is he doing? I remember, what's his name? Allegri did it for, I think Juve against Spurs, and they were 2-0 down, and he made a defensive substitution, and they won 3-2. I'm like, I want to see that from my manager. So far, we've not seen him do that tactical thing to change the game. We've either seen us just stay in the game and keep creating chances like we always do and get the goal. I just need to see more of that. Okay, Arteta made this adjustment, and then that was the key. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not knocking him, but he needs to start adding that to his game if we're going to really be serious when it comes to winning major silverware.
But we do have the options. We do have the options to change up the game. We saw that with Tomiyasu when we shifted Tomiyasu to the left-hand side against Salah, and I was like, "The fuck are you thinking with that? I kind of get it, but this is not going to work," and it did.
Spot on, Ozzy.
And all of us are sitting there doing this, going, "I can't believe this is working out." So we all just went, "Shut the fuck up." No, seriously, I was like,
best example.
Now we see Eddie Nketiah in Jesus' position. And it's like, well, desperate times, desperate measures, but it's working. You know what I mean? For some reason, that seems to be working.
Steve, let me just chime in here on the Tomiyasu thing, Steve, because if we all remember how well that worked against Liverpool, and I remember Kenny and I doing a stream with our good friend Tony Claude Gunner.
That one time, though.
About the merits.
One time.
Yeah, that one time. We were talking about the merits of that, and I think Kenny was making it crystal clear that because of Tomiyasu's body shape or whatever,
no, it's his right foot. Salah cuts to his left, and Tommy's right-footed, so we can stop him. That's all it was. But it was smart. But yeah, sorry to cut you off.
Exactly. It was a smart thing which worked one time, but that's probably that there is some sort of a thing to that. It could have been partly because Tomiyasu did his job, but also because Salah was continually, not in form and not really able to get in there. But in subsequent games, when Tomiyasu was played at left back, he looked like a duck out of water. And so that day was an example of serendipity. It did its job, but then you go back to what works best for you. And that's another reason why, in response to that question, I don't see Tierney having too much of a future, because one touch has touched on it perfectly. He only needs to do that once, by the way.
Guys,
you got it. Yeah. So that's the thing. That actually was the sort of the game which really called for someone like a Kieran Tierney to come in, because if the inverted thing wasn't quite working well with Zinchenko, and Xhaka wasn't exactly having the best game either, that was the time to take Xhaka off, bring Kieran Tierney into the defense, and allow Zinchenko to come up. And then when you have that overlapping ability from Tierney, you get a lot more out of it. And a lot of people are going to say, well, we did have a few of our chances. I think Saka had a shot cleared off the line. Pickwood was also forced into making a save by Trossard. But again, those are just really crumbs of comfort more than anything else. But that's another example of how sometimes as a manager, you've got to be willing to trust your players, have faith in what they bring to the team, and think of a situation where you can use them. Because the more you marginalize them and the more you pretty much give the impression that they may not be valued, the more they're going to start thinking, as Kenny rightly touched on, the more they're going to start thinking that they're not really wanted. And that's one of the reasons why I don't know if Tierney will stick around, because if Arteta's going to stick to his system and make sure that he has players really suited to that system and that system alone, and he's going to try and beat Tierney's natural ability out of that and trying to convert him into the left back that he wants, it's not going to work for him. So I actually believe that we could very well see the last of Kieran Tierney this season, and I'm sure there will be several top quality clubs who will be willing to take
it would hurt
on him, because he is.
You're right. It would hurt. I'm not gonna lie if I lose Kieran, because I always was saying he was the next club captain before we were figuring that out. So I would hate to lose a player like him.
Oh, definitely, I use Kieran, but I think that's the thing. Kieran's football's one of the thing with football. I can see why sometimes some players see it as just a job and fall out of love with the game, because it's the most dog-eat-dog business you'll ever going to see. You see it for our very eyes. for 1 minute Eddie Nketiah, Eddie, and then a London
Eddie out, get him out.
Nigerian with a Nigerian background comes in, and we don't want Eddie no more. We want Balogun. And then we think, well, we turn on Eddie because we think he's looking on Balogun's way. And Eddie comes back, and then Balogun's thing. So everyone's fighting for that one place in football, and that's the thing that for all the glitz and glamour, all the money they get, they're going to get shat on from a great height because everyone needs to play. Everyone wants that wants to play in a team. The only way to get in the limelight is to play, and sometimes football waits for no one. Arteta's probably one of the most ruthless managers ever. His man management needs work. In fact, it's pretty bad. You look at the way he got out, the way he got rid of them wasn't nice. He did it in a very immature and babyish way. So maybe that can, his man management. And he's got his man management here, and that's
to be honest, for some of them, I believe the way he got Aubameyang out was spot on, though. Spot on.
I'm with you on that.
Yes.
I was hoping
and even more so after watching All or Nothing.
No. I think between me and all of us in this stream, the All or Nothing, basically, it was just basically tracing paper to the real thing. So, and there was an instant between the both of them where it had to go. It was so.
There was no coming back.
But then Potter don't left him out of the Champions League squad. So after the 7 right, just Potter said, "Get him off the club."
I think that's for footballing reasons, though. You look at, and I say it respectfully, the guy's lost a yard of pace. It's not to do with discipline. It's footballing reasons.
And when you lose that.
He could still do a job as a super sub, but as far as starting a game, I don't think so. And I think
not in the Premier League, bro.
Exactly. We're all in agreement.
Elsewhere, Craig.
Yeah, we're all in agreement. I think that maybe his Premiership days are done and dusted. But
100%.
Guys, quickly before, because I got to go to another stream. Big up everyone on the panel. Big up everyone. But I want everyone, because the vibe on this stream, although we're getting some things off our chest, I want everyone watching to understand we're not upset, depressed, thinking it's all over. We're just angry about how we performed yesterday. That doesn't mean that we don't believe we can't turn it back on for the next game against Brentford. I don't want you fans to start saying, "Oh, look at Arsenal, they're in meltdown." We're very far from a meltdown, guys.
That's exactly what a lot of fans that are out there, unfortunately, content creators that are out there are going to create content for the sake of creating content, first of all, right? And there are a couple out there, and you know who you are. And if you want to knock on my door and ask, do you think I'm that kind of guy? Just ask. I'll tell you. And then we're going to have,
to be fair.
Yeah, you know what? By all means, I'm ready to go toe to toe with anyone who wants to talk Arsenal. I'm ready to rumble. Nobody wants to go against me. It's not going to be fun. And to be perfectly honest, and I think as fans,
take it easy, guys.
All right, brother.
See you later.
Guys, everybody, don't forget. Nigel just tuned out. Please jump onto his channel, One Touch TV. You got to like, share, and subscribe. You got to support one of our guys. And look, I want to big up everybody in the chat so far. I've been going through as many comments as I can. He's up Northside LDN. He's in the building. Big up the panel. I'm still hurting after yesterday. No heart, no desire. Come on.
Shut up, you crybaby. Shut up, you crybaby.
Yeah, he's still hurting. Go give him a kiss. Go give him a kiss. He's hurting.
No. But boys. Sometimes you've got to be empathetic. Remember, he's one of us. And Steve, listen, you go on his streams to watch alongs. You ought to know better. Come on.
Yeah, but I don't give him a hug. I give him a slap sometimes, and that's what he needs. He doesn't. I'm just saying, maybe this time he needs a hug, and I think the only person to give him a hug is Fuad.
In terms of what Touch said, touch on something. I mean, that's ironic. Your name's Touch, and then you touch on something. But
One Touch TV, Niger.
One thing he did touch on is that the fact is that no one's angry about the team. No one's thinking we're going to lose the league. I think one of the biggest myths ever, and there's one guy, he's a former content creator, but he's involved in wrestling, because maybe he isn't getting the views that he would like on his channel. But he calls he tried one of the big worst tricks in the book to try and get traction for himself and get a few views on his tweet, saying that the Arteta out thing is trending on Twitter.
Exactly.
So I thought, let me go and investigate. There was no Arteta out movement whatsoever from Arsenal fans. No one was slagging off the manager in the droves he was saying. I just looked and I thought that was just mischievous to say that that it's trending. It's complete and utter rubbish. What fact is that every Arsenal fan is acknowledged and praised Everton for what they've done, praised Dice, and most importantly, we know that we weren't going to win the league in January. Sorry, beginning of February. That
exactly
when we come out of March, April, then you have your meltdowns after March, April, Serie A. But we're never going to win the league by 8 or 9 points. Get out your skulls. We're not beating Man City with 11 points. It's going to be a lot closer than we like. It's going to be bum cheeks time. You are going to have high blood pressure. You are going to go to your doctor for heart palpitations, because guess what? This is the big time now. We're part of the big time. So fasten your belts. And by the way, we will drop points as well. But as long as we can win the league, I'm up for it.
Look, end of the day, this is one of those games. Our players didn't look. Everyone would say this, even the pundits said it. And I'm just going to close on this when it comes to Everton. Agree with me, disagree with me, whatever, guys. Guys in the comments, let me know what you think. I'm trying to go through your comments at the same time. I'm a bit of a novice when it comes to that. You know how it is, us novices. You know what I mean? But I'll be honest with you, this game, every single one of our boys that was out there did not play the game they should have. I honestly thought that some of the changes should have been made, weren't made. Nketiah for Trossard to play a false 9. That was an idea. Martinelli stays on, maybe some link up. Who knows? That could have worked. There are a lot of things that could have happened that didn't, right? But at the end of the day, we did lose 1-0. We did make the mistakes in the box. None of the players were playing with the kind of energy that we have seen this season, right? Because we have seen this team play some fucking expansive football and literally take teams out at the knees. We didn't come out of the gate running. We didn't attack the goal like we usually do. We look like a shadow of ourselves. The pundits were saying the same thing. The commentary was saying the same thing. So these are the things that can happen in the season where you drop points. City are not going to go throughout the whole season without dropping points. The one thing that's going to happen, though, if City do drop points, and this is to all the Arsenal fans out there, is that their fans won't go in a meltdown. They'll say, we can handle this. And the pundits aren't going to come out and say that's the end of City. So as Arsenal fans, think of it this way. Look at that game. And this is my advice to all the Arsenal fans out there and you content creators. If you want to come for me, I'm fucking waiting. Right? All you guys that are just trying to make news. All right? Look at the game. Look at the Arsenal team that played. Look at the way they played and compare us to the other games. And then tell me if it's not apples and oranges. Because we were lethargic. We were slow. We were a shadow of ourselves. And I mean, that's my vibe in the game. And I'm pretty sure it's the vibe of the panel.
Well said.
I'm telling you. And
this game, right.
I swear, this game is not going to mark the whole season. And if we're going to judge our season on one game, right? We're going to judge our season on one game. What about all the other games that we've won? Do you get what I'm saying? So shouldn't we judge it on that? Or do we just judge it on the one loss? Do we become negative Nancy and judge it on one loss? You know what I mean? Or we go happy as Larry Aaron, right? And judge it on all the wins. You don't judge it on either one. There is plenty of football to be played.
Steve, are we going to listen like what a lot of these contexts and Arsenal fan base? Are they going to listen to the people now, the professionals in the game? Say, Man United are second favourites to win the title. Are we really going to listen to that?
They're not. It's just the other day they pay to make their opinion. I think the thing about it, right, is that it was always going to be one game at a time for us, because simple reason is that we haven't been in this situation for 19 years. And the closest we got to being in this situation was in 2008, in my opinion. So basically, it was always having to pace it. What we've done is fantastic, is that we've given ourselves a massive, massive cushion to the extent that, out of the 20 games we've won, what was it? How many said we go? So we basically lost 2, drawn 2, and we've won the other 16.
Exactly.
16 wins out of 20, just fantastic. And I think that's why every content creator is on the board. We're enjoying ourselves. We are enjoying the season. But the fact is that, we're too scared to say we're going to win the title, because, it will break our hearts if it just went all wrong, especially even the last hurdle, even before, because we've been playing so well. But again, everyone's got to take it one game at a time. And I think overall, every content creator is loving the way we're playing. People are not going to change their minds on the manager, but what they're going to do is they're going to say that I'm enjoying this. He's doing well. Well done, mate. Carry it on. That's what you got to say.
Yeah, but
you got to come with that energy.
Do you know though? I look at it like this. All right, a lot of the Arsenal fan base. All right, got to look at the reality is when we went from the Emirates. From Highbury to the Emirates. A lot of contacts say this. They say it all the time. We went from Highbury to Emirates to challenge for the title. That haven't happened till today. We had no intention of winning the title when, like you said, it was 2008 when we were 5 points, 6 points clear of Man United, and we bottled it in Birmingham City. I was at that game away at Birmingham City, and we bottled it there. And I knew from that moment we're not winning the title. Season, and this is like that was the last season, and that was the last season. We have to go back. It was 2008, and we wasn't even sure then. But this is the season now when we actually are giving a good fight, putting ourselves out there. Top of the table, even though we lost yesterday, we lost against Man United and went, was it 18 games in a row or 16 games in a row? And that yesterday we lost. So we know that we can bounce back. Even though it was a bad performance and how we lost in the manner we lost yesterday. Exactly. But we know that this time going around, you've got Trossard, you've got this new kid, and you've got Jorginho who could start in the own game and give Partey a rest to get him 100% ready for Man City, because we got to take some risks. So this season, but this season, though, I'll give Mikel Arteta credit because at least he's doing what the fans asked for. That's what he's doing. Yeah, he's doing what our fans asked for. Fans, we've all been through pain. We've all seen it. So, don't take this game. It's not the end of the season yet. Don't have a meltdown, because if we beat Brentford and Man City, but then it's a flip.
It's a flip.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's because of that.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, it becomes an absolute flip. And I just wanted to comment, guys. Send your sketches, please, if you could, guys. Everyone in the chat, big up everyone in the chat. I'm trying to go through your comments. You've got to subscribe to this channel and One Touch TV, please. Football Capital, subscribe to that channel, please, if you could. Subscribe to this one if you haven't. Like, share, and subscribe, please, if you could. But I'm not finishing it up. I just wanted to pick up some of these guys.
Is that Borja?
Football Capital. Football Capital is Borche. Yes, it is. That's Borche. The guy.
Hello, Borche.
Yeah, big up Borche. Where is he? He's got some facts down there. I'm trying to go through some of these comments. It's difficult. I'm a bit slow.
He's a character.
Big up Craig.
Borcha normally, innit? When Man United beat Arsenal the last time, he had a cigar. What happened to your cigar this time, mate?
Wait a minute. You know I said one, so he probably might have been smoking it. You didn't see it.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
It's the same cigar, guys. It's the same cigar. He doesn't smoke it out.
I'm keeping my eye. As long as Ten Hag's there, as long as he gets the players he wants, and if they get new money or new owners, I'm keeping my beady eye on them, because I've always said it, and people not agree with me. But when Man United get it right, none of us have got a chance. It just showed in the 60s and late 50s under Sir Matt Busby and under Sir Alex when they got it right, because they're the biggest club in the world. And when they're on it, doesn't matter how much money we have, City have, or Chelsea have, or Newcastle, it's hard to compete with them when they're at it. When they're at it. And I think this guy is probably going to be the guy who's going to get that Fergie mentality in, because there was too much, and I say it respectfully, Pogba, the Lingards, and all this sort of, YouTuber not rubbish. That wasn't Man United. Once they get back to being Man United, we all got to be looking over our shoulder.
Once they become that animal they used to be, and I'm hoping that both Arsenal and Man United can come up to become those teams they used to be. Because
I would love it if we're dominating the game.
Those two battles, that battle was the fucking. It was the game everyone was waiting for, and I think even the game we've just played, it was all eyes on that game, and that's what made it that much more special, because it was two teams that were sort of. The old lines are back, and they're kind of going at it. And I enjoyed it. I remember the old Keane days and Vieira days. And the
great game it was 3 weeks ago. It was a great game. Great game.
Wonderful game. Enjoyed it. Wonderful game. Guys, I wanted to talk about this transfer and discussing the transfers that have come in. And I'm going to, I know we're all up for Trossard. I know everyone was happy with Trossard. I'm not going to get into Trossard. We all know that. I don't think anyone can complain about that signing. But I know everyone is looking at, again, the elephant in the room, Jorginho. And not many people are impressed with this signing, right? So I'm not going to go into sit there talking about the left-footed centre-back that makes sense and the Trossard that we all know is good. Now, that's all nice. Now, we're going to talk about the one that everybody's looking at and saying, what the bloody hell is this? Now, I saw this signing, and this is my vibe, and you guys tell me, I saw it and I thought to myself, running out of time, last-ditch effort, we need midfield cover because we've got the Europa League and the Premier League. We either make a move or we don't. And we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. We moved for Casado. We actually offered decent money for him, but it unfortunately wasn't an option. In my eyes, I wasn't enthused. I understand it. And I don't think it's the worst signing. I think it may help us throughout the season. And I'm happy that it's a short-term contract. So I'm not looking at it like it's the end of the world signing. I think Jorginho might be a decent signing for Arsenal because we just need that depth. Guys, come at me.
Europe is for Europe. You need him in Europe because of the fact, not because of simple reasons why he keeps possession. And that's fact. Our manager did try to get him, just before the summer window ended. And I think it's a well-known fact in football that the guy's out of contract at the end of the season. And our manager's always been a admirer. All the players that we've got, let's remember, Arteta has been a driving force. He's a team manager. This wasn't forced on him. This is a player that he's actually wanted. But he wanted probably at the last resort, and he knew about his availability. But he was rightly going to go for Casado and Modric because simple reasons that they're young players, but young players who can start games for us, and do fit into that system. You know what I mean? So, I can understand where he's come from. The only reason why I've got my reservations, I can't speak for the others, is that when Chelsea players leave that great setup they have at Stamford Bridge, where they've won trophies and they've won virtually a lot, it's the hunger. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Despite what people say, and I think people need to get their memory backs in, Petr Cech wasn't a disaster for us. He was with us for about 4 years. 4 years. For a couple of seasons, I thought he was all right. And even the season, the Wenger's last year, he was okay. But he wasn't a Petr Cech at Chelsea. And I think that's where people got upset. Now, William Gallas was the William Gallas at Chelsea, but we didn't have that mentality at Chelsea. We were a young side who forgot how to win trophies. So, again, it looks like it didn't work. But you think about 15 years ago, what he did. If he did that now, we'll be cheering him on and say, well done, that's a big boy mentality. We know he would. But we're hypocrites. It's not all of us, but some people want to go bad. Then you've got Willian brought into the club by Arteta on his reputation because he clearly wasn't happy with Pepe. Because Pepe wasn't doing his stuff off the ball, though Pepe, from an attacking point of view, helped us win that FA Cup. Yeah. But it just didn't work out with Willian. You know what I mean?
No, it just didn't. No, it didn't.
And David Luiz as well. He weren't bad for us. But
first
the
season,
for all those players, with the exception of William Gallas, is that they didn't bring their Chelsea form to us. So they came to us when they were at the end of their careers. But they weren't as bad as people thought. But what we wanted was, bloody hell, look at David Luiz when he plays when he played for Chelsea, all action, Petr Cech, impregnable when he's with us. And then you've got Willian. Oh, look at the 10 goals guaranteed in the league and then about 15 assists. Because we didn't get that, they're bad signings. But what fans did have to have a point on were they're as hungry for us as they were for them. And that's what I've got a problem with Jorginho. Is he hungry as he was there?
But the reason, you gotta look at the club's mentality, though. Everyone used to say about Gallas, but you gotta look at the reality. The fact is that when Gallas come to Arsenal didn't have a mentality of trying to win the league. They never had a mentality of trying to win the Champions League. They never had the mentality trying to win the silverware. They never had that. So when Gallas walked through that door, he's coming, and he's the one who's saying, "Yo, we got to change your attitude." And he to a certain extent, and to that Birmingham game. And when he sat there, people were like, "Why is Gallas sulking?" I was in that 3:00 kickoff. He's not sulking because he's a crybaby. He's sulking because he's a winner. And him and Wenger that day, when he was trying to get him off, they were arguing on the sideline. He said, "Look, you gotta tell these players too," because apparently, like Andre Arshavin said, that Arsene Wenger was saying when Andre Arshavin said in an interview that Arsene Wenger did not actually go into the half time. He didn't actually go into the changing rooms. Only the captains used to go in there. That's a fact, yeah. And that's when Mikel Arteta was captain. Mikel Arteta was the one who was to scream at the players. It wasn't Wenger. Right. And it was the same when Vieira was captains. So So when Gallas came in, he's thinking, what's going on here? I used to have Mourinho in my ear saying, why are you playing shit for? So it's a lenient play. So when a Chelsea player comes here, but I think with Mikel Arteta, so I think with Janino, I think he's going to be all right. I'm not saying he's the answer, but I think you're going to see somewhere down the line, Ken, where he's going to fit into some system and not 90 minutes, half an hour, get him on there for 20 minutes, slow the game down, hold the ball, calm the defense down. That's it. That's what he's doing. That's what he's going to do. And I think with the experience he got, I think he'll help us now with this bounce back and get over the line because he's done it. You know, he's done it, and that's all he's coming in for. I don't think he's coming in to take Partey's place. He's not coming in, but he's still a good player. I'm not saying he's the best.
It's a depth signing. It's a depth signing.
He's a good player, a fantastic player. It's just his hunger. His hunger, because the other day, I think from if you want to sort of like, if you don't scratch at the surface and you just take it at face value, it looks like the Arsenal fans that we're actually got a better relationship with Chelsea than we have with Brighton, because what we're doing is we're reducing their wage bill and we're making sure their players don't have to leave the capital. And I think, and that's how it kind of turned out with kind of their performances. But, you know, don't get me wrong. It's them. You look at, I had reservations about Zinchenko and Jesus because I didn't think they were hungry enough. But they've
come in and they've shown us something.
Yeah, and I think maybe they want that from my guy. But the fact is that we wanted all those attributes we've attained to you know, like Jorginho. That's the attributes we obtained to all the Chelsea players again. We were thinking, you know what, bit of that, it'll make us a better team, and it hadn't materialised. Maybe if you want to look at it critically, the mentality wasn't right, where they got buried into, you know, our bad ways tactically and mentality.
And that's a good point. I mean, Manny, what were when we signed Jorginho, right? And I know you're not going to be. I think you'd pretty much like me, not overly enthused, but in my mind and the guys' minds, it's a depth signing. Now, Kenny Ken himself is saying he's hoping that he's got that hunger, and I'm with him. I don't want Arsenal to be a retirement village for players. If you're coming in here, and just like Fuad said, he's not coming in here to take anyone's position. He's coming in here to make an impact off the bench and to play those games where we need somebody to just come in and fill the role. What were your vibes on the Jorginho signing? In all honesty, because a lot of people are using him as like a scapegoat right now for this game against Everton. But I don't think he was.
But Steve, do you know yesterday? Okay,
yeah.
Go on. Oh, sorry, go on.
No,
was it for Manny? Was it?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I mean, like, it was for me. Yeah. Listen, Steve, you pretty much summed it up brilliantly. It was never going to be a long-term signing. It is going to be that sort of a short-term horses for courses thing, because bear in mind, for so many for months this season, we were crying out for cover for Thomas Partey in case he got injured. Lo and behold, against City at the Etihad, he had a bit of a rib issue and had to be taken for an MRI scan. And so, you know, without Jorginho, if we didn't buy him, what would our midfield bench have been like? Sambi Lokonga, Fabi Vieira. Okay, we sent Sambi on loan. We still have Fabi because we believe for what it's worth, he can still do a decent job taking Odegaard's position. But with Partey, if he goes, who do we have? And that's why we got Jorginho. He's never going to be that player, as you said, who will be an investment for the future. And of course, with his best years being at Chelsea, you know, I don't see him necessarily replicating that form for us, although he can certainly play a few games. And that's what frustrates me personally about getting all these ex-Chelsea stars. Not that they're necessarily bad players or they become bad players overnight, but because their best years were at Stamford Bridge. They won trophies at Stamford Bridge. All these guys, Cech, Luiz, Willian, and now Jorginho. Gallas, to an extent, he did. He won a few as well. So to come to Arsenal and expect to try and replicate that form where the surroundings are different is not too easy. And of course, we even have an example from way back when a certain Pat Jennings came to us to play because Tottenham got relegated. We all know that his best years were at Tottenham Hotspur, but he came to Arsenal, did more than a decent job for us. I'm sure Kenny will have seen him play. No, I think maybe when Kenny started watching, Jennings was near the end and then moved back to Tottenham.
Jennings.
Pat, we have other
I was 5.
Who've seen.
Yeah, Yeah, Pat came to the club when I was 5, and I was young enough to think, wait a minute, he used to play for that lot. I obviously, when you're younger, it goes over your head, the fact you sing the songs because you're meant to, but you know, I was young, and I was like, you know, he was at the football club to the age of when I was from 13. You don't really notice, you know, that he probably had his best years at Tottenham, but from what I saw, he was still the legend that is Pat Jennings. We looked at those big hands, and you know his performances were brilliant for us. But if I was 25, sorry, if I was 23, or rather than 30 when he left the club, I probably would have been like you and thinking, you know what, yeah, probably had his best year at his club. But I can only remember the Arsenal performances. But you're right, it's the hunger issue going from one big club to another. I used to hungry.
Another Tottenham player. Oh, sorry,
exactly.
I was going to say, touching on Jorginho, everyone's going mad, and I've seen a lot of people contact yesterday. He come on yesterday against Everton, but one thing we never did was concede more goals. In the first half, people talk about this. This is what people are fickle at. In the first half, when Thomas Partey was playing, Everton were not. We were lucky that Everton didn't score 3 or 4 goals. The header. But he missed. Calvert-Lewin missed 2 sitter headers.
2 sitters.
2 sitter headers.
A slide in.
He missed a tap in, a slide in. And Mohamed, what's his name? Mohamed.
Doucouré.
Mr. Sitter. So it could have been 4-0 before he even got on the pitch. But when he come on the pitch, we conceded the goal from a set piece. There was nothing to do with him. But one thing he did was slow the game down. He controlled the players. He calmed them down. That's why we never conceded. That's his role. So any Arsenal fan, before you start having a pop at him, we could have conceded 4 goals in the first half.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. I'm not making that up.
Yeah, and listen, Fuad, listen, I'm not one of those. Agree. And listen, Fuad, let me just chime back in. I'm not one of those people who will slag him off because it wasn't even the game he started. He came on as a sub, and he did his job. But here's the thing. We also need to consider that maybe around about that time, we knew that Everton weren't necessarily going to go gung-ho to try and get another goal either. And they were also going to try to start shutting us shop. And also, there was still a part of me that believed that once they would start to tire, then maybe with the subs we brought on, we could have had some sort of an impact. But I didn't have any problems with Jorginho. And I actually think that his coming to Arsenal could be a good thing. The only issue that I had, as I said before, was that those players' best years were at Chelsea. And Pat Jennings' best years were at Tottenham. At Arsenal, he played well enough for us. We were just unlucky that when he played, we weren't able to win that much silverware. I think we only won 1 FA Cup with him. Then, of course, he moved back to Tottenham as first-team cover and later on played for Northern Ireland in the 1986 World Cup. Legend. But it is sometimes a little bit about the hunger. It is sometimes a little bit about the luck that could be on your side. When we brought Petr Cech, we knew that his best days were behind him. I knew that. But he did put in some decent performances for us. My biggest issue was that at Chelsea, he also did have a few injuries as well. Would that bad luck with injuries continue? So coming back to Jorginho, he is definitely a short-term signing. He'll be here at Arsenal till the summer of 2024. And then we have the option to either keep him for no more than a year or move him on. And so it was something that had to be done. Given his reputation, I wouldn't necessarily mind. Of course, there's always going to be a part of me that thinks, oh, bloody hell, why did we sign another Chelsea reject? But then there was also a part of me, and I hold my hand up and say that I was completely wrong. I remember at the beginning of the season saying that maybe Alvaro Morata could be given a second chance, but then that has been quickly laughed down by many people, including you, Steve-O, and even Kenny has told me that as good a player as he is, he just doesn't have the ability to cope with the speed of the Premiership anymore. He's better off playing back in Spain or elsewhere in Europe. And I've been shut down. None of you shut me down to my face, but after thinking it over, I've realized I was wrong, and I'm not going to do that anymore. But it's an okay signing, and we can't jump the gun and make a judgment based on barely a half hour against Everton. So we need to give him some chances to play. Exactly. And I think somebody touched on it brilliantly. For the Brentford game, I would like to see him take Partey's place in the centre of midfield, play alongside Xhaka and Odegaard if need be, see how he copes against those players, and give Partey a rest. so that when Manchester City come calling, Partey will be fit and fresh, but Jorginho will also have had some minutes under his belt and gotten up to speed. And obviously, once you do that, we are going to have to accept the fact that a signing like Jorginho won't expect to be, dominating mostly. But the reason why we wanted Caicedo was because he was young enough, and we certainly thought he could be an investment for the future. And it's like the younger you are, the higher the transfer fee you command.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that he's off the table.
At first glance, it might look as though it might be another case of penny pinching. But at least we've got a midfielder. Last season, we couldn't get Bruno Guimaraes. He went to Newcastle, and he played his role in knocking us out of contention for the top 4. At least this time around, we've learned our lesson.
I'll look at. Oh, sorry, go for it, Ken.
No, I was saying is Mikel's got the player he was always wanted, and I think what's happening is that maybe there's a method to Mikel's madness, and he's as mad as a hat of that man is. He's mad. You see him in the train. You see him on touchline. He's worse. He's worse. Mind you, I don't see why people on TV maybe are going off at him about his touchline antics. I think,
I like it.
He was worse last season. Last season he was 10 times worse. So
he was on the pitch different at one stage.
Yeah. So what was he? What's he doing different than this year? Oh yeah, maybe it's because we're in a spotlight more, because maybe they think we got a chance of winning anything. But the fact is, in terms of getting Jorginho in, I get everything you said about his attributes. I really do. In terms of talk about Brentford. Well, fact is, if Partey's not fit, then with Man City 4 days later, you have to think about the situation. You have to think about what you want to do in midfield. You can. You're going to have to ask Grant Xhaka to play in that position. Say, mate, give us a game. Give us a game.
I mean, it's a must.
We know you don't want it, but help us out, mate. Just for that one game, and then because we got rid of Albert to Crystal Palace, so then you just say, right, holy God, you're still going to, like I said, go and support the front to Jorginho. Can you just give the ball to Odegaard and to keep it ticking over for us? And if you can help us out, take the ball off the centre halves and then keep it ticking over. And I think that's maybe how you do it tactically.
But
I mean, you look at this comment down here. You see, looks like Thomas Partey was carrying an injury. You could see against Everton, and that's true. Yeah. And that's where your point, Kenny Ken, comes into the next game, Brentford. And there was in the comments as well that maybe Jorginho starts instead, and Partey comes off. And this is why we made a signing like Jorginho. I'm not saying he's the best signing, and the Caicedo signing that we didn't make, that doesn't necessarily mean it's off the table. It's off the table this season. We showed some ambition that we were going for a player that was worth over 70 million this transfer window. Doesn't mean we're not going to get him in the next one or someone better. So the way I'm looking at this transfer window now, we might not have got the names that we wanted, but we were in there for players. We were going for Mudryk. All right. We went for Mudryk, but he was overpriced. Mm. We met the valuation of Mudryk, and we couldn't meet the wages and the starting line straight off the bat on the contract. So we didn't get him, but we had the money. We went up there. We were showing ambition. The move for Caicedo shows ambition. We had the money. We made the bid, but Brighton took him off the table. This is different from what you've seen in previous seasons in the transfer window. So now that we've got Jorginho, it's not like, we're trying to save some money. No, we weren't trying to save some money. We were going after Caicedo, and we were spending top dollar for Caicedo. And that doesn't mean – and now it still talks about Declan Rice. So this is why I look at it and think to myself, I know it looks cheap, but it looks like it was, we can't get him, we're getting him. Do you know what I mean? And forward, I know I cut you off there, but please go for it, mate.
I was going to say to my friend Carl was big up my friend. He's off. We had an off day, like the whole team did. But I was going to say, yesterday,
subscribe to Carl Walsh Gunner. Subscribe to this man.
Yeah. Carl Walsh, he's my boy. Carl's my good friend. I was going to say to you, when we played in the FA Cup, okay, this is what I'm doing. Do you know when we played in the FA Cup against Manchester City? We played it with Vieira, we played with Tomiyasu, and we played with Trossard. And it's like they played a strong team too. Even though we lost that game, if you rely on them players, they go out and do a job. And that's what I want to see against Brentford. I want to see him say, yes, Tomiyasu, you're playing, Trossard, you're playing, Fabio Vieira, you're playing. Because if they go to the Etihad and perform like that, surely they can do it in the Emirates. and they can have like a little, I think on Saturday, Brentford. I know it was a gamble, I know, but I think that we've got the tools to beat them with Vieira, Trossard, Tomiyasu, Kieran Tierney. We've got the tools to beat them. So in the Emirates, give Martin Odegaard a rest. Give what's his name, Partey a rest, because that game there is the game. Man City is the game, because that if we beat them in the Emirates, it's not just beating them. We're gonna mentally beat them. They're gonna think, "Yo, Arsenal are here to stay. Arsenal are here to stay." So that game there. So give Partey the night off. Honest, give Partey a day off.
And it looks like he needs it though. In this
because
game,
yesterday, I agree with Kenny. I agree with Kenny. We can't agree with Kenny. Kenny pulled up on yesterday. I think I was watching Kenny and he was on the show yesterday. I think it was Lee's show. And Kenny said something that was vital. He said, "Without Partey, we won't be where we are now." That's the truth. Partey was resting against Man United. What happened? He was out. So
without Thomas, our party falls flat.
Yeah, there's not much of a party without Thomas, eh?
He's that good, but the thing about it, right, is that he's fallible if he's not 100%, and Everton, targeted his fallibility. One thing about Brentford as well, if we're going into that, them on a counter attack is different gravy, mate. They don't care where they play; they all get numbers forward. So that's something that
they open up to.
We've got to win that midfield battle, midfield battle, because at the end of the day. Ivan Toney's a very, very intelligent footballer to the extent is that he has no problem. He's got no problem like stuck getting deep and then getting in late in the box. He's brilliant at that. You look at his goal against his second goal against Man City. He started the move, kept running. No one was tracking him. Boom. Who ends up with a free hit and goal? Boom. And he could have got a hat trick. So these are one of the things where if the risk is, if you play Partey's not fit, the Brentford are going to gobble out of midfield. But the risk is Brentford are going to lick their lips if they see the starting line up and see Xhaka, Odegaard and Jorginho. I said, right, let's get them, win that midfield and get them on a turnover. See if we can do that for 90 minutes. So it is a risk, but it's risk and reward because you don't want Partey to be 20, less than 70, even less fit when we go to Man City because you'll be forced to play because it's Man City. But
exactly, and then there's an injury concern.
Yeah, he'll be a passenger. He's not 100% fit in that game.
Exactly, and we can't afford that. I think against Brentford, the thing about Brentford is as good as they are countering going forward, they leave themselves open in the back. So I think it's going to be a little bit more expensive. And that's where that's where goals are going to be. That's where goals are going to be plentiful.
Here's one more question, though, I'd like to ask all of you. We've been speaking so much about how Partey might need a rest, but another person, in my opinion, who definitely needs a rest is Bukayo Saka. That fella has been playing almost non-stop since the resumption of the season.
Mikel won't let him. Mikel won't cancel that.
Too many games.
Mikel won't let that happen. The thing with Mikel was that, how we say Partey's our system? Fortunately for Bukayo Saka and his energy tank and his sun deck that he needs to get on, he still looks most likely to open teams up, and Mikel just can't do it. In fact, since Mikel's had his first,
here's the thing. Yeah. Agreed completely.
I'll agree with you.
Agreed completely. But another thing though is that again. We saw against Everton, I think somebody mentioned it in the comments, it was a case of trying to sort of lump it all the way up to Saka, even when Martinelli was not an option. And that poor fellow has been doing more than his fair share of running. There's a part of me that thinks greatly that if Mikel Arteta is not careful, he could very well be the cause of this boy's decline. And we could see him succumb to a few injuries as well. And so another question is, Reece Nelson played against Nottingham Forest. Agreed, it was a Nottingham Forest that were absolutely shambolic then, but who've recovered now. He scored 2 goals, and a lot of people were raving about him, saying he should be the next best thing. Unlike Marquinhos, who's gone out on loan, Nelson's still at the club. So
he had a bit of a knock.
Nelson at least back to the bench and give him a
Well,
few
if we won yesterday,
No, he had a knock.
still
if
injured?
we
He had a
won
knock.
yesterday, he won yesterday, then I think the manager, as stubborn he is, would probably still play Saka. But surely that be in the back of his mind. If we won a game yesterday, we still had that cushion because we're assuming Man City would get something to this afternoon at N17. Then I can see Arteta thinking, yeah, I'm not going to do it, but it's worth doing it. But because we lost, and because we lost yesterday, and because we want to give Man City any momentum,
he needs three.
Can I state my opinion about that? You just about.
Cool,
So
yeah,
I look at it from a different perspective. I looked at it like this.
We all know you look at it from a real different.
Yeah, no, but I think Saka. Personally, this is me. This is my opinion. It's just opinion. Don't think it's a fact. My opinion is that Saka could be holding the club ransom and going by the balls. You drop me, I'm not signing. Because he's tired. He's tired. You can see he can see he's tired. Like yesterday when he went down, he's puffing in the first 15 minutes. And when his eye went down, he's breathing heavily. I think the boy needs to sit down himself and say, "Yo, coach." But I think Mikel's scared. I don't know. Is Mikel scared to drop in? Is he demanding the play to sign a contract? It's a touchy situation, bro. But yesterday you could see Saka needs a rest. He needs a rest. I think Mikel's got to say to him, "Yo, Saka, listen, we got an important game, Man City. Sit out this one. Let Nelson play."
But Nelson picked up that knock, so I don't know if Nelson was 100% for this.
Oh, is it?
That's where, he picked up a knock.
Oh.
It's Reece Nelson had a knock. You got problems with ESR. We've got players out, and I'm hoping if Nelson comes back and he's ready to and he's at full fitness, I'd love to have Reece Nelson on the bench and ready to rumble. But I don't think he's ready to play, and I think that's the reason why he didn't. Kyle's here and he's saying you're spot on. He won't drop Saka because of his arrogance. It's not because of that. We don't have any options on the right hand side. Trossard doesn't play on the right, and Nelson has been injured. So it's a tough situation to be in. And it's like, we should have signed the right winger.
But Trossard
doesn't play on the right,
bro.
Yeah, I know, but he doesn't play well on the right. Trust me.
I know, but I know he's a play well on the right. But bro, you gotta understand though, bro. So it might cost us a league, bro, because if he's tired and he's burnt out, it's like yesterday, that was just a sign of what teams can do. Just double up on him and he's gone. But if it's Saka, you could put two players on him. He'll stroll past you.
Well, the thing is, Fry's got a point because he even gets involved in their European games where, in the group stage, I say that, the level of opposition we're playing was quite pathetic, really, with the exception of PSV. But all the rest of the teams were just pathetic. You know what I mean? But he still was involved. And I think that's where the thing is that I don't know whether it's because Mikel Arteta's always right. I think that's going to do it. But I just think that even last season, it was abundantly clear. But the season when we really struggled, it was like his tactics was to give the ball to Saka and he'll win the game for us. And I don't see anything changing. I think he's that important to Mikel. I think the thing with Saka, I can understand why Mikel wants it to play every time. We want to have a rest because I don't recognise the lads. He just gets better and better with every season. I've never seen a footballer evolve so quickly who looks so different to what he is for season. I thought we had a left back, and I thought, he could play in the left hand side. Then we made him inverted. I mean, even for England, he looks a different gravy. I mean, I don't know what plateau that guy's on, but it just seems that just when you think that he's got a ceiling, he just raises the roof all the time. This guy, if we keep him fit and he stays with us, you're talking about a geezer who can probably play about 600 games and score about 250 goals or even 300 goals. He's that good.
And then we talk about the assists.
Assists. I can understand that why Mikel's doing it. I don't like it because I want him to keep fit, but he's just too good. He's too good. I think if he don't play, you notice he's not playing.
He's like our Alexis Sanchez. Remember Alexis Sanchez?
Yeah.
He's almost Alexis Sanchez all over again, where you couldn't bench Alexis Sanchez.
And someone who gets kicked, gets up, and carries on. I mean, referees are on him. They don't believe him for 1 minute when he goes down. But he's just so vital. But I see when Manny and Fu had got a good point. You know, he's running empty, but I don't know, man. I think the manager just
it's like Kenny. He's played in the Carling Cup, Kenny. He's played in every league game. All right, he's played in every league game, every Europa League game. He's played in every fixture except one. Is when what's his name scored 2 goals. Was it when Fink scored 2 goals? Reece Nelson. What game was that? You were at the Emirates, weren't you, Ken, for that game when Nelson scored 2 goals?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he came off in it because he got a knock in it.
Yeah. That was the only game he didn't play, and he was back.
Mulder or some shit. Who was that against?
No, it was a Premier League team.
He came on against what's it? He plays Zurich. He came on
Mulder,
against me better. And Mulder came on, but I think he's featured in. I don't know what happened against. Did he play against Brighton? Because I didn't go to that game. Did he start against Brighton when we lost in the League Cup?
Shit.
Yeah, he said it now. Yeah,
in the comments, did he play against Brighton? Let us know.
Yeah, he played against Brighton. Him and Eddie and Ketia. Yeah, it was.
He's the star boy.
The only thing he ever played is when Reece Nelson scored 2 goals.
Mate. That's a workload, mate, isn't it? That's a workload.
Look, Alexis Sanchez, if you remember him, guys, we didn't start him. We looked dejected. Reece Nelson is definitely an option. I'm pretty sure everybody in the comments. Look, big up everyone in the comments. Kyle Walsh Gunner in the comments. Taib, I see you in the comments. Craig, AFC 87. Like, honestly, this guy, he is always around. Big up Craig. Big up Taib. And to be perfectly honest, guys, I see Saka as Alexis Sanchez. I know we should rest him. I understand it, but I don't see options until Reece Nelson gets in. Against Brentford, I don't see us gambling that. I reckon he's going to start because we need 3 points.
Some good news for you on that front. Some good news for you. There is some good news for you. I mean, I know Kenny and Fuad probably don't rate Football London as a website or a news source, but according to Football London, Reece Nelson made his return to training ahead of the Everton clash. Now, obviously, he wasn't going to be picked as part of the squad, but if he returns to some degree of fitness, he could perhaps be considered to, come on the bench maybe. But still,
it's an option.
I mean, sometimes we have some. It is an option. So that's one of the reasons why we sometimes need to consider that you keep playing him and playing him and playing him. But we also have to consider how Alex Ferguson handled Ryan Giggs at the beginning of his Manchester United career. He didn't want to keep playing him in every game. He wanted to rest him whenever he could, train him and coach him, and made sure that the big boys had more of their chances to play. And look how long Giggs played for. The type of player Saka is, I do not want to see that fella, talented and amazing as he is, and mind you, he also plays regularly for England, for better or worse. I don't want to see that fellow end up, having his back tie completely blown on duty for club or country because he's been just played too much. So, and to answer your question, no, he didn't play against Brighton in the Carabao Cup.
There you go.
But so that was a relief, or not, because we lost that one. But it just goes to show that if you truly value your assets, especially as players, you cannot simply afford to run them into the ground, and you sometimes have to find moments when they can be rested. And I understand that when players are young, they feel as though they can go on forever and ever and ever. But then you just never know in this game. You see so many players dropping down with heart ailments and having to play the game with installed defibrillators, a la Christian Eriksen.
You know what? I'll shake your hand.
You just don't know what will happen.
Manny,
I'll shake your hand. Too many games, the workload.
Yeah. I've been one of those people. And you really should get my goat when people say, what are you worried about? They're on £150,000 a week. I said, well, I don't want to see a player collapse on my TV set or when I'm in the ground. The fact is, Manny, you've got a great point. With the last 2 seasons of lockdown, like Project Restart, the amount of games these players have played without a rest, I'm surprised that we've only just seen one near casualty with Christian Eriksen, because we are running our footballers into the ground, and that's why I've always been an advocate for the Christmas schedule to be postponed and just not have the games over Christmas for the players' rest, and for the fans' safety in terms of getting to matches. I understand the traditions and I understand what people think, but at the end of the day, you're going to have a situation where, it's going to be a rarity to see players have long careers because they can't play that intensity of football. You know, if you want to see your players play their best football, then you can't, you know, have all those games and expect them to play well all the time or keep fit.
Good point.
You know, we are gonna have situations where we are going to get best on our hand before our very eyes. We do not rest these players.
It's duty of care. It's duty of care when it comes to these players and how much football they're going to play. Kyle Walsh has actually put in a good comment here, guys. Men, a question for you. Would you not play Martinelli on the right wing, Trossard on the left to give Saka a rest? Do you think Martinelli could do a job on the right? It's a possibility.
That's a good question.
It's a good. You know what, Kyle? That's a good shout. I would. You know, I would give that a whirl. I would give that a whirl. What would you guys? Would you guys give that a whirl?
It's worth a try because you know it gets in. You know, obviously you play him on the left because you want to get involved and you know have a shot from goal. But the right hand side, he's still got the pace. You know, it's obviously him and Benjamin White. You know, playing together. It's, you know, two right footers playing that position. You've got to do something because you know I think what's happened is that tactically, you know, right backs and defenders they're used to inverted wingers now, but it's a rarity for a right-footed player to play in their what I call their proper position. So it gives them a chance because you know Trossard, you know, is more than effective on the left-hand side and he's intelligent as well, and he's very good at dealing with being man-marked. So, yeah, I wouldn't say no to that. Especially if Reece isn't fully fit. He's got to think about it, yeah.
It's a good shout. It's a good shout, guys. I like it. Kyle, you know what? I think it's a good shout.
It is a decent shout. I mean, the only problem that I have with this is that Martinelli hasn't exactly been in the best of form, and we all know that his best position would be on the left wing. So to ask him to switch over to try and do a job, I mean, would he really be able to adapt to that? Of course, maybe because that would involve either, you know, cutting in or whatever. I'm really happy with Trossard coming in, and that's another reason why, you know, bringing him in that outrageously low cut price deal when we paid almost twice as much for his fellow former Seagull, Ben White. That is an absolute bargain, and he certainly looked as though he could play the part. And yeah, why not? I mean, the thing about Martinelli and Trossard for me is that you probably could even interchange both of them. So
let's keep switching.
I love that, Kyle.
It's a good
genius.
I think Kyle's got. I think Kyle makes a good point on that one. Big up CHB. Big up. Last question I got. Arsenal's title hopes. I know they've hit a bit of a snag, but in my opinion, business as usual. I'm unfazed. This Everton game, I'm not happy about it, but I was expecting us to at least lose a game here and there. But in my mind, the charge is still on. We're still in good shape. We have to move forward, onward and upward. And everyone talks about this. Everyone says it's about how the players react to this loss and how they come back. And I believe that also comes down to the fans and how you react after your team loses a game. How much you believe in what you're seeing, not in this game, but in the games before. It works for both sides. So for me, I watch Arsenal. I don't just look at a result, and I look at this game, and I know I didn't see the Arsenal that I've seen in the others. So as a fan, I say unfazed, and the title is still up for grabs for Arsenal. That's my opinion, guys. You tell me.
Absolutely, completely agree. And Kenny, go ahead, sir.
No, you first. You first, anyway.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Normally, in different circumstances, I'd be absolutely hopping mad. But I also would end up remembering that, again, just as the league isn't decided in our favor at this time of the year, the league isn't decided against us this time of the year either. So it is how we respond. To use a boxing quotation, it's not about how hard we can hit. And we've been punching really hard this season. It's about how hard we can get hit and continue to move forward. And that's how you win. Rocky Balboa at his finest. So, yeah, it is about the response. And obviously, you know, Mikel Arteta now has a job to do. How does he get his boys to react to this? And I will take a few points when people say that if we weren't good enough to beat an Everton team that were as low as they are, how do we even think that with City coming into some form and other teams now fortified by their forays into the transfer market, snapping at our heels, how will we be able to cope with them? But the cushion that we have, gentlemen, for now, we are 5 points clear of City, and City will be playing that extra game, so that will be whittled down to 2, but we can easily put that back up to 5. I think if we believe in ourselves and make sure that we correct the mistakes, we still have more than a good chance of winning this league. But again, as we all agree, it has to be one game at a time. And it's another reminder that not only can we not afford to look too far ahead, but as all three of you will agree, you must be respectful of your opponent. Do not dismiss them. Do not be complacent. And you must make sure that you have a proper game plan and also a proper plan B, and make sure that you stick to that. And not just in football, but in boxing, there are so many examples of boxers losing their title fights because they completely disrespected and disregarded their opponent and came into those fights being complacent. I don't need to rattle off any of them. You all know what they are. But as you say, Steve-O, mate, business as usual. We move forward.
That's my opinion. Kenny Kim, what do you reckon?
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. There's so much football we played. There's 18 games left. We were never going to win a title in January. It was, people would have, but one thing we will see is that teams probably think they're looking at champions elect, and that they're going to, raise their game against the champions elect. Even at the Emirates, they're going to raise their game against Everton. That was always going to be a situation where you don't need any motivation. The press wasn't on Everton when they played us, because simple reasons they're playing what they believe was the champions elect. So you can raise your performances, and they've got a derby at Liverpool where they're going to raise it. But I don't think they'll be good enough to do that. But we just have to get used to it. We kind of realised in Newcastle that teams are going to play that way against us, because if they go expansive, they're going to have to, they're not going to be able to play that way for 90 minutes. So they have to have a system. Whenever a team plays well, plays good football, you always have to have a game plan against them. And we just have to, we're going to be frustrated a bit. There's going to be games where we're going to need a deflected shot in the 85th minute, or maybe a penalty in the 90th minute. That's how you win leagues. 1-0's, it's good. It's only just started, right? The fun is about to start. You just have to roll your sleeves up and get with it. We'll know if we're title contenders by the end of March. We'll know.
Fuad, what do you reckon? Have we got Fuad? I think Fuad's frozen. Fuad, he's looking at us, but he's not. He's looking through us, guys.
No, he's frozen.
Guys, to be honest, I think Fuad's frozen. But look, I think Fuad would probably agree with. Is he there? He's moving. Fuad, are you there, bro? Yeah, we can hear you clearly. What do you reckon?
I think this Everton game is a learning curve for this young team and for the man. You've gone out there, they've done good so far, but this is a learning lesson. Don't take games lightly. Learn, listen, and bounce back. This to me, sometimes this something like this can actually win the title. Because you can go in the thing and say, this reality, you keep playing like this, forget about it. But now you've underestimated your opponent. That's what's happened. You've gone in there, only Everton, everyone beats them, bottom of the table. We're Arsenal, we're top. So this is a learning curve for the players. This is something that could be a beautiful thing that happened, and we might learn and bounce. And I think we'll continue I think we'll go on another mad run. But I don't think we're going to win. I don't think we're going to win like we have now. I think we'll win like 4 or 5 games or 6 games in a row, maybe drop points, and then another 4 games. It ain't gonna be a mad run like the start of the season. But we're in that position now where we can just say, take game by game, and this is a learning curve. This is something. In a way, I'm glad it happened now, because imagine you kept winning, then you lost your last 3 games.
Oh yeah, and then you capitulate. It becomes Liverpool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Jamie, I'm glad it's happened now, so they can learn off it, and they can and they can feel that sadness, and they can feel that defeat, and they can feel that the fans, all them fans who were singing for you, they went there and you didn't even perform. It's like Manny said and Kenny said and you said it. We did not in that game. We would have got a draw. I would have put my hands up and said, "Do you know what? I feel sorry for Everton."
Yeah, exactly. Because Everton were the better team.
Yeah.
Everton were the better team. And look,
Hey,
hands down, they were the better team. And Craig even said
like
that winning games ugly.
There's a saying in boxing, innit? What they say in boxing. There's a saying in boxing. Just take the L, Christopher Jr. Eubank. Innit? Just take the L. That's it.
Oh, mate. Look, at the end of the day, we can't win every game, right?
No.
But we got to go in there, and we have to look at the mistakes that were made. Mikel Arteta will look at the mistakes that were made, right? He has to address them, and he has. Man United made mistakes, came back, played them the second time, beat Man United. So these are games where you're going to lose. You make your changes, you change your tactics, you come back better, and we have done that before. Remember, guys, we haven't lost too many games. You know what I mean?
No, we haven't.
We haven't lost too many games, if you know what I mean. So at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we've every time we've shown up, right? We've shown up and we've called it. Even Mikel Arteta is calling a spade a spade. He sees his mistakes, he corrects his mistakes. Next time he faces him, he knows what he's got to do. So the way I see it is, this league is still up for grabs. It's not done and dusted. We're not. It ain't over for us. It ain't over. So. But guys, look, I'm going to end this show on that note. I want everyone just to pretty much just shout out where they can find you. Fuad, where are people going to find the Prince?
You can find me at Prince Fuad TV, and you can find me on Instagram, Prince Fuad on Instagram. So mostly Instagram most time. I've been lazy these days, bro, to be honest with you. It's too cold.
Yeah, so it's no wonder you get frozen too often, because it is quite cold in your neck of the woods, eh? You get these jokes from me. I know they're awful, but that's just me.
Manny, where can people find you, mate? I mean, I know you're everywhere, man. You are everywhere.
Yeah. You can see me. I'm almost like the plague, if you will, in a good way. But first of all, big up to Steve-O, the Aussie Gooner. Always delighted to do a few streams with him. We've done a few for Del Boy's channel, but to come together on his channel, it's been terrific. Thank you very much indeed for having me on, brother. I am looking forward to the next time I get to come on. And ever since following you, subscribing to you and your channel, and talking to you a lot more frequently, you've helped me improve myself as a football fan and become a lot more perceptive in a way. And for that, I'm really grateful to you, as well to Prince Fuad. And of course, anytime I get to share a stream with the legend that is Kenny Ken, it's like my cup runs over every time. So to answer your question, on YouTube, as you said, Steve-O, you can find me almost anywhere. Shout out to these channels, Del Boy Gunner TV, S. Featley TV, with whom I do a lot of work. And I will actually be doing a lot more work with him in the days to come, and maybe a lot more exclusively with me. So you'll find out more about that. Oris Talks Football, Coach's Corner, where I'm a co-host of both channels. We cover a lot of sports like cricket and tennis as well. So that's some good fun. Tony Claude Gunner TV, Danny AFC TV, Up the Cherries in All Departments, which is a Bournemouth fan channel. Terrific boys, a lot of them. Love working with them whenever I can. And just a few more on whose streams I've gone. In fact, I also want to shout out an enemy of ours, if you will, Eugene Spurs Asia TV. I've got to watch along with him for the Spurs City game. So that's one instance where we might have to cheer for our rivals. And if there are any more people, with whom I've worked on streams and I haven't mentioned you, I will send you a check in the post. But you are important to me. Don't forget that. Socials, catch me on Instagram, ManiThangadurai 1981. That's my full name and my year of birth. Twitter, Thangadurai 1981. My surname and my year of birth. And it's always about making sure that we have discussions with people, not falling into our tribal tendencies, given our support for our own teams, but coming together as fans, having some discussions like this, coming to resolutions and being united by our love of the game, which is the global game. And that's all that can be said. So, Steve-O, once again, thank you very much indeed. You need your sleep, mate. It's late for you. And thank you to Kenny and Fuad. Thanks to all of you who've contributed in the chat. You've made this stream what it is. Have yourselves a great Sunday. Stay safe. Stay happy. Don't do anything that the four of us wouldn't do. And for now, I'm out.
Cheers, Manny, mate. Cheers, mate. Absolute pleasure. Kenny Ken, where are you, mate? I mean, I know where can
on
we find
Instagram.
you?
It's at Kenny King 1972 Instagram. Comment on everything about football and boxing, but football world. There's more that happens off the pitch than on the pitch, and there's those discussion points. There's a few things I won't touch because I think sometimes you've got to have some sort of sensitivity to other people's opinions, and in the football world, you just have to leave things alone because you don't know, But I will touch on matches that have happened and transfers of every club. So we're going to go for it. But as I said before, one of the things is standards. We set some high standards this season, and we got that's got to be Arsenal standards from not just this season, next season, whatever happens. We've got to keep on trying to win the league every season. We know we've shown a little glimpse that we want to do it. We can prove that we can challenge, and that's got to be a mantra. We've got to sign players who can help us win the league and help us do well in the Champions League. Let's move on from being a top 4 club.
Mate, honestly, I couldn't agree with you more. I honestly couldn't agree with you more. The passion, the drive that we're showing this season is wonderful. And you're right, we need to continue it on to the seasons that are coming after this. Big up everyone in the chat. Big up Craig AFC. Big up Kyle Walsh Gunner, Northside, everybody that's here, my panel, Nigerian Englishman. Guys, look, if you haven't subscribed to those channels, I really need you. Like, share, and subscribe this content. It would be great. To my panel, I thank you guys very much for making this a wonderful discussion because I couldn't have done it without you. Honestly, I love it. I love sitting down and chit-chatting about football, but the best thing about it is being able to chit-chat with a bunch of guys, and especially even the guys in the comments and everything, where we're talking about topics that are relative and we're not sitting there taking it out of bullshit. So, guys, from the Aussie Gooner, from everyone on the panel, Uru, guys. Uru.
Uru.
Uru.